Good morning, great Americans. It is January 9th, 2026. Another great American video from the bunker in Kentucky. And we got a new year and entirely new levels of madness and insanity from the unhinged, criminal, degenerate left and Democrats in this country. I have made a number of videos, and I swear I'm just like at a loss of where to go. I have to hand it. I have to give props and hand it to news reporters who get on the news every day because I don't think I could do it. I would just be so astonished and baffled and dumbfounded how we can get to a point of just insane, just criminal, insane, absolutely unhinged behavior by leftists, radicals, Democrat extremists in the streets, and how so many Americans are okay with it. Other Americans ignore it. And half of the media, the fake news media, CNN and NBC and ABC and all those, try to defend it. And Democrats in Congress try to defend it. What is it going to take for people to wake up? I created, I'm going to put links to all these videos in the description. I made a video once called that we must declare the Democrat Party a criminal organization, and I went through the entire history of Democrats' crimes against humanity. The totality of which arguably worse than the Nazis, right? Because we'll go back hundreds of years, 100 years, to slavery, and then creating a civil war in the United States to defend slavery, and then how they persecuted and attacked and murdered black people after they lost the Civil War, because we all know what happens when Democrats lose. They go unhinged and go on a murder spree, like they tried to murder President Trump. And then after that, you got your Jim Crow laws and your segregation, all that. But then you also have their creation of terrorist groups from the KKK way back when up till today. You got your Antifa, your BLM, your anti-ICE nut jobs, and your anti-Elon Musk wackos, destroying, burning, looting, destroying, killing. You know, and so I made a video about that. But then, just to blow my mind, they took it even further, and I made a video called Part Two, because Part Two had to do with the sedition. Remember the seditious six? Not only are Democrats, criminals, and not only are they a criminal organization because of all the crimes that I just mentioned, but then they took it to another level and actually tried to incite rebellion and military coup by getting uh, uh, by illegally, trying to foment disruption and among the ranks of the troops, get them to rebel against the commander. Yeah, their cover story was that they wanted them to disobey illegal orders, but that was straight bullshit. Because when troops in the streets disobey illegal orders, when troops in the field disobey illegal orders, those are orders in the field, right? Like some nutty lieutenant telling you to go kill all the women and children or something, and you say, no, I'm not going to follow that order. Orders coming from the president are already passed through legal counsel to make sure that they're legal. So it was a big ruse, and it was, once again, low IQ liberals bought into it, but intelligent Americans realized that they were fomenting sedition. So I created a second video called Democrats Need to Be Called a Criminal Party Part Two. You know, I guess I'm going to call this part three, or I don't know. I'm just at it. Listen, and I'm going to put a link to this in the description too. I made a video called Protesting for Dummies. And the point of the video is protests are to enlighten the public about problems and hopefully fix those problems. But let me allow me to introduce you to the story that's out right now. It's the woman who was shot by the ICE agent because she attacked him with a car. Look, this woman, who was a lesbian, by the way. So I don't know what it is with all these these homosexuals and trannies coming out and murdering people. That's a whole other discussion. We're not going to get into here. But this woman, it turns out, was a member of. She labeled herself an anti-ICE warrior. I forget the fact that she's got kids at home to take care of. She didn't really care about taking care of her kids. She tried to go out and injure police officers who are trying to arrest criminals, which makes her a criminal right from the get-go. But she fancied herself an anti-ICE warrior and was part of a group of activists who worked to document and resist federal immigration crackdown in Minnesota. Now, think about this. There is so many layers of stupid here. So first of all, going back to what I mentioned about my video about protesting for dummies, you know, how do you protest against law enforcement enforcing the law? Okay, we're not talking about a factory who's polluting the local school, or some poison in the water that we want to make the people aware of, right? We're talking about law enforcement officers who are only out to do their job, which is to arrest criminals who, in this case, are illegal aliens. Okay, it is a crime to be an illegal alien, despite what some of the left-wing kooks say. And if you're an illegal alien, not only are you a criminal, but you are literally committing a crime every second that you stand on American soil. So when a federal agent apprehends an illegal alien, he is literally apprehending someone caught in the act of a crime, because being here is a continuous, ongoing commission of a crime. So anyway, so ICE is out doing their job. They're not harassing people. They're not busting down doors of just. They're targeting people. They've gotten the information of the location of an illegal alien, and they go out to apprehend them. That's law enforcement. How do you protest law enforcement? That's not something you protest. You're not going to win anybody over your side by being on the side of criminals and being against the law. Remember how the Democrats always used to say nobody is above the law, nobody is above the law? Well, apparently millions and millions of illegal aliens are above the law to them, and they are willing to attack and kill law enforcement agents to defend those criminals. That's the insanity that the left and the Democrats have sunk to. They are willing to attack and kill law enforcement agents, in this case ICE agents, to defend criminals who have illegally snuck into our country. They're not even Americans. Foreign criminals are worth killing law enforcement in the minds of the radical, degenerate Democrat left. So that's the insanity that we are now to. And there are so many things, there's so many layers of things to investigate here. Like, for example, I mean, never in my wildest dream. Even the when you go back to the 70s and the Vietnam War, even back then when you had the radical protests against the war and stuff, at least those protesters were protesting a particular thing. They thought the war, American citizens are dying. They thought the war was immoral or illegal. They thought we should get out. I mean, I disagree with them, but at least there was what you could call a legitimate topic or a legitimate issue to protest against, right? Why are we there fighting a war? But in this case, how do you protest against police arresting criminals? Police, in this case, ICE agents, but it's important to remember that they are police, they're law enforcement. I think when these radical extremists constantly refer to them as ICE, it's a sort of a subliminal way of not acknowledging that they are actually law enforcement officers, just like a police officer or a federal agent or a state police or a marshal or a sheriff or whatever. They're a law enforcement agent and they're out arresting criminals. How do you protest against? That's why their protests make no sense. So that's the one thing. The next thing is, where is all their funding coming from? How is it that when something like this happens, seemingly overnight, there are thousands of protests with these beautiful, expensive banners and signs and flags? I mean, that stuff costs tons of money. Somebody somewhere, or several groups or entities somewhere, are just waiting at the drop of a dime to infuse millions of dollars to these radical, extremist, anti-law, anti-police, pro-criminal groups on the left. So that's a whole other level. Those people need to be found out who they are, and their funds need to be seized. Their assets need to be grabbed by the FBI, just like we do with terrorists, right? When terrorists commit terrorist act, we follow the money, like they say, and then we find out where it is, and then we grab it and we seize it. That's what we need to do with this stuff. So that's another thing. And then there's the hypocrisy, the utter hypocrisy. As I mentioned, a moment ago, for a long time, the Democrats used to scream and yell, "Nobody is above the law." But now apparently millions of illegal aliens are above the law, and they're willing to kill law enforcement agents to protect these illegal aliens, and they're not even Americans. That's one, right? Number two, recently we had the January 6th remembrance of the great, wonderful patriots who protested and were oppressed and suppressed and attacked by the degenerate Democrat Party. And there was one death. See, we were not violent like the Democrats are violent. There was one, despite the lies, the utter lies in the media about law enforcement dying on J6, that was a lie. Nobody died. There was only one death that was a direct result of J6, and that was Ashley Babbitt, a young, beautiful woman who is an American veteran. She was unarmed, not a threat to anybody. She was unarmed. She was exercising her right to free speech, and she was murdered and shot dead by the police. Now, here's the hypocrisy. These extremists, these anti-ICE extremists, are out calling ICE agents fascists and terrorists. Why? Why? Because they're arresting criminals? And yet they are okay with the Capitol Police shooting protesters in cold blood, only because the protester happened to be on the side of Trump. So, I mean, there are layers and layers and layers of hypocrisy and lies and criminality from Democrats. But here's the bottom line when it comes to this woman who was shot by the ICE agent. She has kids. She left her kids at home so that she could go interfere with law enforcement and attack law enforcement. She's a pig. Not only is she an extremist and an idiot, she's also a low-life scum because apparently she was willing to go take a chance, right, that her kids could be taken away. Because look, speaking of separating families, in the United States of America, if you commit a crime and you get arrested and you get thrown in jail, then you get separated from your kids. She was willing to separate herself from her kids to defend illegal alien foreign criminals and attack American law enforcement. She's a pig, a scum pig, and she got exactly what she fucking deserved. Right? Now, here's another thing in closing that I don't understand. I have also mentioned in several videos. When I was growing up, and throughout my life, my understanding has always been that if you attacked a police officer with lethal force or what can be construed as a deadly weapon, then you're taking the chance of getting shot. Police officers have the right to defend themselves with lethal force if they feel like their life is in danger. That's always been the norm, right? I have been amazed. I mean, these idiots in the Democrat Party keep calling the ICE agents terrorists and fascists. I think they're quite the opposite. I have been amazed and astounded at their restraint. I have seen lethal objects hurled at them, shot at them, trying to run them over and all kinds of things. And up to this point, ICE agents have not responded with lethal force, even though they were totally justified in doing it. I mean, there should be like at least 100 people dead by now, if they responded as they were entitled to, but they didn't. ICE has shown amazing restraint in the face of these radical, violent extremists who are attacking them simply for enforcing the law. They have shown amazing restraint. Because like I said, when you attack law enforcement with possibly lethal force, they have the right to respond in kind. So ICE has showed amazing restraint up until this point. There is the ICE officer who pulled the trigger here the other day was totally in his right. And who knows, maybe a lot of the things I'm saying right now may have been going through his mind. It's like, we cannot be attacked with lethal weapons anymore. I felt his life was in jail because apparently somebody was yelling, kill him, kill him, kill him, kill him. And we knew that he was in front of the car and she stepped on the gas to run him over. I mean, anyway, here's the bottom line of this video. This cannot go on. This cannot go on. And the United States of America is a nation of laws and the Constitution and order. We cannot have roving mobs of insane, violent extremists attacking law enforcement, interfering with law enforcement, and, to put the cherry on the cake, being funded by who knows who, including foreign sources like George Soros. Personally, if I was president, I tell you one thing personally I would do. I would get on the horn to the CIA and I would say, take out Soros. Take him out. He's no different. He's a terrorist who is literally fomenting death and uprising and sedition in America, and he's funding it. I would take the fucker out and his kid too, and seize all of his billions of dollars. I don't know why the hell we haven't done that yet. But this woman got what she deserved. She thought she could, and this is, by the way, the other people that are at fault here are the news media. They are not telling the truth, and they are not telling the people, like, hey, at some point, if you attack law enforcement with lethal force and projectiles and stuff like that, people they're going to respond and defend themselves. People have are low IQ. I should say that low IQ liberal Democrats have somehow got it in their heads that they can just attack law enforcement with impunity. Sorry, no can do. You attack law enforcement with a lethal weapon, and you get shot, and you FAFO, FAFO, whatever. So I hope what we need is more normal people going out in the streets and showing these idiots that they're not the only ones. We need to counter that. Oh, you're trying to foment a civil war. Hey, buddy, guess what? There's already a civil war going on. But for some reason, our side is sitting out the hot war part of it. I don't know how long that can go on. But anyway, so that's the deal today. Sadly, the Democrat Party is a criminal organization. This is part 3. And please see all the links to the previous stuff I put in the video. Excuse me. Please see the links that I put in the description of this video to all my previous stuff. Please see and subscribe for free to our Substack page. Martin Luther King Jr. Day coming up. Happy holiday. Have a day off. And we will see you in the next great American video. Adios, muchachos.